If you think that achieving a goal is going to make you happy and solve all of your problems, then I want you to think again, my friend, because oftentimes I feel like we get so caught up in the achievement of something that we forget to live in the process. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mayra. If you're new here, I help women start living their lives for themselves again. On this channel, we talk all about authenticity, healing the feminine, and becoming your most aligned self. If that's something that interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let's get on to the video. I'm not against goals. I love a goal, but I used to get caught up in the goals that I had, and I would not be happy until I had this goal. It was almost as if this goal was like my saving grace. Put all of this pressure on this one thing, and it wasn't until I had this thing that I was allowing myself to feel these feelings that I wanted that goal to give me. I think you can get a lot of purpose in the pursuit of something versus the actual achievement of the goal itself. Because how many times have you achieved something, maybe you celebrated it, but then you moved on to the next thing and you never really sat with this achievement and actually felt that pride that like, hey, I did this. I set this goal up and I accomplished it and I'm proud of myself for it. We typically don't tend to do that. We typically move on to the next thing. And sometimes we get so caught up in the goal, especially if you are a high achiever, you kind of get stuck in this trap of not really living and not really enjoying life because you have put all of your eggs in one basket, the goal, and it being the thing that's going to get you out of all of your problems, and you can't focus on anything else until you have this thing. But something that I want to offer to you in regards to looking at your goals is just start thinking about the feeling that this goal is going to give to you, because you can create the feeling of achieving that goal without actually having attained it. And so we're not waiting until we get this thing to be able to feel the feelings that you're wanting when you get there. You can have it along the way, and it just makes it so much more enjoyable of a process versus if you are just, I'm not going to be happy until I have this thing, because we have a life to live. We can't just postpone feelings of joy, happiness, freedom, security, whatever you feel like this goal is going to give you. You can't postpone those feelings for however long it takes you, because guess what if you don't achieve that goal? What if it never comes to fruition? What if the universe decides that this isn't actually your path? So you're working so hard and you're waiting until you get this thing to have these feelings when you may never get it. So when you're creating goals, think about the feeling that you're wanting from this goal and see how you can create that in your life right now. And it's actually the key to being more likely to attain that goal, because you're working on your sense of being, who you are, how you're showing up in the world, the lens that you're looking life through, the way that you make decisions. Because when you have the feeling now, there's a lot more ease and alignment in your way of being to attain whatever it is that you're working on. So I'll give you an example for myself. When I was starting on my feminine energy journey, the reason that I wanted to heal my feminine energy, I wanted peace and I wanted trust, because I was always so in my head and it was really hard for me to shut my mind off. I really had to focus on who I was being, because I can't wait to have peace and have trust in my life until I heal my feminine energy. And I lived my life like that actually for a really long time. As I was healing my feminine energy, I wanted these things, but I wasn't allowing myself to experience them, because when I was resting, I was thinking about all the things that I should be doing. And when things weren't going my way, I was worrying and having plan A and plan B and plan C in place. Once I actually looked at the essence of being in my feminine energy and just realizing like, I just have to create this feeling of trust. Even if I hadn't fully healed, I could take steps towards creating that feeling of trust in my day-to-day life in this moment. So whenever something were to come up and I felt like, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen? I don't know. I have to worry about this, right? I had to pause and think about trust, because I want to live my life in a place of trust and peace. So If I'm going to create that in my life, I have to think about how I can find that right now. So it took doing things like regulating my nervous system, giving myself that space to panic and freak out for a second if I really couldn't, move past it, just to allow those feelings to come up rather than push them down and tell myself, no, we're trusting, and that's it. Like, it's not that simple, right? So sometimes you have to allow the feeling to come up and to move through you so that you can let it go and go back to that feeling of, okay, let all that energy out. Like, let me now focus back on trusting and finding that peace within myself. Because healing my feminine energy, as much as I wanted to happen overnight, it took me years. And I still am having to work on this. I'm still constantly having to remind myself, like, it's a balance. So I would say from the moment I started actually like healing my feminine energy, and where it kind of became like a default where I was able to balance it better, it took about 4 years. So imagine if I just didn't allow myself those 4 years of healing myself, that I wasn't going to be able to create this feeling of trust and peace until I healed my feminine. Like, could you imagine? And like I said in the beginning, I did live my life in that way. But over time, I realized, like, hey, like, I have to be able to create the feeling now, even if I don't have this, because I thought I was gonna heal my feminine in a year, and it's been 2. So just learning how you can create the feeling of whatever it is that you're working on. Sometimes you can't have a quick goal, but these longer goals, like, you can create these feelings of whatever that this is going to give you in this moment right now. So that way you're not waiting until you get it to feel it. And it makes it so much easier to accomplish something, because your way of being and that feeling that you're creating in the moment is aligned to this version of you that has that thing already. It makes it simpler, and it could help you get there faster. And it could also help it stick and stay with you. So that way, after you accomplish your goal, you're not going back to your old way of being, because oftentimes we also, get to that goal point, and then you're like, okay, back to my old self. Like, I got this thing now, going back to my old self, or reverting back to my old self, because we haven't worked on who we are becoming in the process of attaining that goal. So how do you do this? The next time you are creating a goal, I want you to think about the feeling that this goal is going to give to you. Focus on the thing that you are wanting to attain. And it can be tangible, intangible. Like, for me, mine was intangible because I was wanting to heal my feminine energy. But it could also be a tangible goal, like, I want to save $10,000 for an emergency fund. You decide what it is that you are wanting to attain. And think about the feeling that you think you're going to have when you attain this goal. So I already gave an example for mine, but the savings one, let's just say you want to feel security in your life. Once you have the feeling of what this goal is going to give you, think about how you can create that in your life right now. So the money example, how can I create security in my life right now? Well, it could be that every time you spend money, you're not freaking out about how you're going to get that money back and feeling like you can never spend it. Or when you save money, you just feel like you take 10 steps back because another expense has come up. You really have to stop and look at your mindset, right? When you are creating the feeling, you have to look at your mindset too. They're connected, because the lens that you view life through, that is what it's going to show you every single day, because whatever you focus on, it grows. So if you have a lack mindset, then everything around you is going to prove to you that things are not available to you. It just becomes about changing your approach to life, to believing that money is abundant and you're going to be able to save this money, even if it's taking longer than you would like it to. Just knowing that it's going to happen because you're aligning yourself to this way of thinking. And it makes it so much easier to stick to something when you are supporting yourself through the process versus beating yourself up or having a negative perspective the entire time. And something that could come up is your belief system being challenged, right? Because you've had a way of being and thinking about a certain situation for so long, and you're asking yourself to think about it in a different way. Your mind is like, I don't know how to do that. Like, what? What do you mean? We've always thought about money being scarce, or we've always worried. So now you're asking me to have trust, or now you're asking me to have an abundance mindset. Your mind's like, this is really new for me, and it's always going to go back to the default until you can strengthen that neural pathway to think about this new way of how you're wanting to feel about things. So in this process, you're going to have to unlearn a lot of belief systems that are holding you back, a lot of patterns that are holding you back. So that's number two, is unlearning belief systems, patterns, behaviors, just an old way of being that's not supporting you on this process to creating this feeling right now, because they no longer serve you. So you have to be okay with letting these parts of yourself go so that you can align yourself with this version that is going to have this goal. Even if you don't get this thing that you're working on, you can still have the feeling now. So the third thing you can do is learn how to regulate your nervous system and be your own best support system. Give yourself what it is that you need when these resistance comes up or you're defaulting back to your old way of being. How can you get yourself out of that rut and out of that cycle? Because it can be really scary when you have known this way of being for so long and you're asking yourself to change. That can be really overwhelming to your nervous system, especially if you're trying to do things too quickly. Just pause and slow down and tap into your body and ask yourself, like, what do I need in this moment so that I can help myself get past it, so I can get back on track to creating this feeling in my life while I'm working on my goal. And the fourth thing is, give yourself grace. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know, life is a journey, and if you hold yourself to a strict timeline, you're often going to be disappointed because things happen, life happens, different situations happen. So beating yourself up for not having attained it by the time that you are wanting it done by is going to make it a lot harder to actually stick to what it is that you're wanting to create in your life, versus if you're just kind to yourself and you just say, you know what, I can pick it up again tomorrow. I can always start fresh. I can always start new. You know, having that mindset that is supportive to you along this journey, it's just going to make it a lot easier to stick with things. And because along this journey you focus on the feeling and creating it in your life, you're going to be able to, once you achieve that goal, which I want you to celebrate as well and sit in that moment once you do have it, but you'll be able to keep it and maintain it because you've created this whole new version of yourself with new skills. Now this way of being is a part of your identity, and so it makes it easier to move on to the next thing and still keep whatever it was that you were wanting to get to be able to keep that rather than reverting back to your old way of being. So if you're ready to change your life and you have goals that you're wanting to accomplish and you like this whole idea of creating the feeling now versus waiting until you have it, but you just need help in the process, I would love to help support you. My discovery form link is down below. I also have a free workbook on how you can start living your life for yourself again. That will also be linked down below. And I also want to know down in the comments, what is a goal that you have in your life right now? But more so, what is the feeling that you can create in your life right now to help you become more aligned to it while you're working on it? And if any of this resonated with you, please make sure to give the video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And also share this with anyone that you think would benefit from this conversation. Also, make sure to click here to check out my most recent upload. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.